Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now it's time for new executive boards of national sports federations in the country. That's after the 4 years of the present boards in the saddle. Already some federations have elected their representatives into the boards ahead of the presidential elections slated for June 13th. Now interested players had gone on with their campaigns, even with the raging controversies over eligibility, tenure and inadequate funding. Now, as the ministry constitutes electoral committees, all eyes are on the federations to see if the elections will be conducted with openness and integrity. Now, what are the challenges? Will the sports ministry follow due process? These are some of the issues we'll be raising tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. But first, let's get to see this report by Amanzi Marcos.
6, 7, Margaret, 3, 4.
Counting of votes at the last National Sports Federation's elections held at the Abuja National Stadium in May 2013. On the 5th of May 2017, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development dissolved the boards of the 31 National Sports Federations about 2 weeks to the end of their tenure. The dissolution came after a stakeholders forum on the 2017 National Sports Federation's elections held at the Abuja National Stadium on the 13th of April 2017. In his opening remarks, Minister of Youth and Sports Development Solomon Dalung promised to disappoint his friends and political associates, vowing to conduct the next elections differently and in a better way. All those interested in occupying positions in the boards were told to go and contest from the grassroots. This is against the past practice where certain categories like journalists and athletes representatives were nominated into the boards while others were elected. Presidents who had served 2 consecutive tenures were barred from contesting. Although a timeline for the election was given, members at the forum proposed amendments that altered dates in the timeline.
For me to even sacrifice my power of appointing people on the board of federation is the highest sacrifice for democracy, for democratic national federations.
On the 19th of April 2017, the Executive Committee of the Nigeria Olympic Committee met in Lagos and kicked against the issue of eligibility, stressing that it does not conform with provisions of the Charter of the International Olympic Committee and the constitutions of the international federations. After due consultations, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development released a second set of guidelines for the elections, fixing May 30th for election of zonal representatives, vice presidents, and presidents. On eligibility, the ministry shifted ground, saying those who had served for 3 consecutive tenures are not eligible to contest for position of president instead of the earlier stipulation of 2 consecutive tenures. As candidates were busy campaigning, the ministry issued a 3rd amended election guidelines, shifting the election from 30th of May to the 13th of June. Some former sports federation presidents not happy with the election guidelines alerted the House of Representatives, and the matter was discussed twice at plenary, the last on 25th of May 2017.
Concerned that the facts of the matter were misrepresented, which led the House into taking a wrong decision to stop an electoral process initiated by the Ministry of Youth and Sport Development to bring about fairness, transparency, accountability in the administration of sports in Nigeria, resolves to resign its decision of Wednesday, 10th May on the matter by resolution HL 191/2017. I so move.
Similarly, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Solomon Dalung, appeared before the House of Representatives Committee on Sports on the 5th of June 2017 because some of the presidents of the dissolved sports federations are challenging the power of the ministry to conduct the election. Some of them explained that their tenure still subsists, and these are federations whose sports were concessioned in 2013, claiming they have up to November to end their tenure. The meeting resolved to constitute a committee to submit its report to the House Committee on Sports on Thursday, 8 June 2017. Elections to fill slots allotted to representatives of athletes, coaches, referees, women and sports lecturers have been largely concluded and were conducted by the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. It was mostly peaceful, but with some petitions and disagreements on the eligibility of the Electoral College that produced the winners. Each of the boards is composed of 14 members representing the 6 geopolitical zones and special interests.
To me, it's a blessing because the minister meant well for everybody to have given us the opportunity to select our leader. And if you can see, it has not been like that. They just sit before and they select. Even within the handball, they wanted to select and we said no.
Elections will be conducted into 31 of the 42 sports federations, leaving out football and baseball, alongside the 9 sports federations for the physically challenged, whose elections are not yet due. Those vying for positions are looking forward to the June 14 zonal vice presidents and presidential elections in Abuja, hoping that the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development will keep to its word of not imposing candidates and allow a level playing field in this democratic process. In Abuja, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
Right. That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. First, let's start off by introducing our guest to you. I would like to welcome to this program Tunde Pukuola, who is Secretary General of the Nigeria Olympic Committee. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're also joined by Babatunde Umije, who's President, Rudder Sports Management. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Let me also welcome to this program Mohammed Abdullahi, who is President, Archery Federation of Nigeria. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
We're also joined tonight by Colonel Sam Amedu, who's proprietor of Dodden Warriors Basketball Club, Lagos. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you.
And let me also welcome to this program the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Solomon Dalung. Minister, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Nigerians.
All right. Okay, as we always do every Tuesday, we acquaint you with the procedure of the program. At the appropriate time, you can get to be part of the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screen. We advise you take advantage of them. However, for those who will be calling in, we say this every Tuesday. When your call gets through at the appropriate time, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV so we can avoid the hurlback or the echo. And the best way to know your call has been passed through is you will see your name appear on screen. Once you see your name on the screen, it means your call has been passed through. Just go right ahead with your question or comment. Don't bother too much about the greetings. And we advise you keep it brief so that more people can get on the platform and air their views and opinions as well. So once again, thank you for joining us tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. It's about sports tonight, the upcoming elections into the boards of the sports federations. So let's start off by asking the Minister of Sports, how feasible is this date of the National Sports Federation's elections, given the series of controversies and, well, you can tell us about that, Minister.
Well, we are optimistic that we are going to keep faith with the 13th of June. But I think basically we need to appreciate the dynamics of the ongoing process. Hitherto in the national federations, elections were conducted with government nominating 5 members each in the board. When I came on board, I was trying to actually understand basically what could have been the problem of lack of development in sports. Looking at a country like ours with 170 million people, with over a population of 80 million youths, and yet we have 43 national federations, and the space appeared not to have engaged dutifully our young people. So what's the problem? And I understood that the question of governance in sports is critical. And so I decided to embark on a self-sacrifice. First, to tell myself that I must try to be honest and refrain from imposing or nominating people to the board. Let's democratize the board. Let the people own the federation. And once they own it, credibility of the federations will be very clear and the integrity too. So that gave birth to the concept of democratization. And we had series of consultations with the Nigerian Olympic Committee, which is the parent organization or umbrella organization for coordinating the national federations and also serving as a liaison between Nigeria and the other international federations. And at the end of it all, we came up with guidelines. Now, in order to be fair and transparent too, the guidelines were never imposed. I subjected the guidelines to, for the first time in the history of our sports, convening a national stakeholder summit where we invited over 40, the 42 federation presidents were there. We invited the NOC. We invited also the secretaries of the federation who were also 42 in number. And then we went out of our way to try to give it a broad approach. We invited other Nigerians who had been spending their money in promoting development of sports, and we brought them on board. So we had over 120 to 30 people in attendance. And these particular provisions of the guidelines were tested through democratic process. Any contentious clause was subjected to voting, and that was how the guidelines was endorsed by the national, the National Sports Summit, Stakeholder Summit, and then thereafter it set the tune for the elections. Yes, we have had series of complaints, controversies generated here and there. It's natural and normal because it's a reaction to change. We are offering a broader perspective of participation. Hitherto, 13 people elect a president of a national federation. In the guidelines, we are now going to have not less than 50 people, and each federating unit of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will participate in determining who is the president of the federation. Meaning that if you emerge as a president, you must be guided by the fact that you were elected by Nigeria, not just a clubbed arrangement of few people. So this is how far we've gone. For those who have controversies, for those who have bitter feelings and wouldn't want to accommodate the process, I want to assure Nigerians that I remain committed to a transparent process. No imposition, no endorsement.
Okay.
If you want to win election, secure the endorsement of the people.
You are not putting forward anybody at all. You waive that right.
The only person I have is democracy.
Okay, all right. Let's turn to the Secretary General of the Nigerian Olympic Committee, Tunde Kukuola.
Yes, of course. We in the NOC, first of all, appreciate the fact that the Honourable Minister here has decided to do what I think is right by putting the real issues forward and then facing the challenges that, of course, will naturally come with it. Like I said earlier on, during the meeting in the House of Rep, I said we have been living a lie for so many years because we never followed the real path that other democracies, especially in sports, have been following. That is through the use of their own constitution. You know, everyone has the constitution, but in Nigeria, we've always been running it through maybe, I don't know whether I call it government fiat or what you call these guidelines. Now, these guidelines that we have is of a different nature. And I will tell you that there's never been a time where you have a discourse on the issue of the guidelines that is talking about the NOC and then government. The last election in 2013, we had quite some issues on it because we felt we had to take a decision to move forward. You see, like the Honourable Minister said, it's like we were stagnant. What are the main reasons? One, of course, is the issue of leadership. One is the issue of governance. And, of course, what we call transparency. With a country of well over 170 million people, we will expect that, yes, we're going out there to be contesting at the same level as those top countries like the US and other ones in terms of medals, because we have quite a number of youth, 80 million plus youths in this country. And if we cannot raise potentials, then there must be something really, really wrong. And in any society, even, well, I would not say this well, even in the family, you have an unwritten constitution that guides what happens in the home. The father is the head of the home, the mother is, there are constitutions that guides this. But unfortunately, what we have here, and I will say it, in 2013 when we had a protest, a very serious one, we got to the IOC, we were called, we were invited to Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire, and the question was asked. If I had to answer the question, we had the IOC member then, we had the president of the federation at that time, Engineer Sani Ndanusa, and myself. And then the question was put forward, of course, that we have a protest based on the fact that elections are conducted in Nigeria by government. I must say this clearly, that the government is not in any position to really conduct elections for federations. But we had a peculiar situation in this country. That's why I said I use the word a lie. It has always been that, and it has always become a reality. And there is change now. There is somebody in the saddle who felt, look, listen, let's put it the proper way. The Honorable has just spoken now, and I think that should be able to guide our thoughts. Now, what we're having on ground now is a situation whereby, okay, let's do the proper thing. 2013, we wrote on the NOC, 2014, 2015, 2016, to all the federations. Can we please note that the next election you're going to conduct has to be by a constitution, which was a directive by the IOC. A copy was sent to the government, people received it, but they did not. And I would say most of the federations did not even bother to submit any copy of the constitution.
Right.
And that's where the position we are coming to this guideline.
Good. So with all these steps that have been taken, what's the controversy about? Why is it still raging? Like you just said, now some of the federations will come to one of them. But let's hear you.
Like Tunde said, we've been living in a lie, you know, in Nigeria. First of all, we must commend the minister. He means well for sports in Nigeria. Sure. But if you look at sports from hindsight, insight, and foresight, then you begin to see, he who detects the piper detects the tune. So every federation, I think, is brain lazy. They always want to go to the ministry for funding. You now ask yourself, like he just said something rightly, every organization is supposed to have a constitution. How come our federations have not rectified their constitutions in line with international best practices when we know that Nigeria is not in isolation in the Committee of Nations? So Nigeria is not the only country in Africa. So why will we always have electoral problems when it comes to election? There's South Africa. Nobody has ever had electoral sports problems in South Africa, Egypt. We try to say we are the giants of Africa. Africa is looking at us. And if we cannot get our electoral practices right, then there's a problem. First things first, I do not in entirety agree with the 8 years cap for people in federations, but they know why they do that. But the beauty of it is we test democracies. Another, based on superior knowledge or other knowledge, some other people might come and say, because for those people like FIFA that have set a cap for leadership, FIFA is over 100 years, and they have developed over time and tried different systems and practices, where you had the Joe Haviland and Blatters and co. But if you notice, it was those strong long term of leadership and understanding of the structure that brought FIFA to where FIFA is today. So if you have old hands, that we must understand the fact that those that will be in the NOCs will deal with IOC's people. At that level, we need people that can stand with their pair internationally, and this can only achieve success for Nigeria with experience. The minister means well. But first things first, there must be a level playing field.
Right.
And two, all federations must rectify all their constitutions with the best international practice. Why? If we do not do this, we would have court cases. Right. And do you know what will happen if we have court cases? I'm from the private sector. And the private sector Government cannot fund sports. Because we talk about the numbers, 180 million youth. Someone was saying we should win gold in Olympics. We do not have 20 standard stadiums in this country. And you want to beat Germany that has 100 standard stadiums, academies everywhere. Their funding from private sector is in billions of dollars. So what we need to do, I know we don't have time, we need to start, apart from getting the democratization right, if we don't get it right, private sector will not come into where there's court cases, where there's crisis. But in as much as the minister means well, I would appeal to the honorable minister, let us look at this thing from hindsight, insight, and foresight. Apart from democratization, we should set the ball rolling for proper funding so that the activities, Olympics is a 4-year cycle. We didn't do well 4 years ago. We need to start now to prepare so that in 4 years we will be able to say we have created 2 more prospects in maybe basketball, maybe in something. But if we keep burdened with democratization processes, then where are we going to find the proper structure to get the athletes?
So that brings us to the federations themselves. And, well, Mohamed Abdullahi is here. What is the problem with the sports federations?
Yeah, thank you very much. The sports federations, one, we know basically once a board, come up with an election and members are, constituted, you have 4 years to go. And so immediately your board is constituted, you also hit the ground running from there. But then again, we have this issue of federations not, moving according to, the trend of time. This situation of fundraising to fund your activities as a federation gives you that platform to be able to stand independently of government without funding. But the situation we have here is, of course, every time we have activities, we have to bend back to the ministry. We need money to go for this event. We even need money to do our developmental program from the grassroots, to international competitions. We've always had these problems. And I can tell you that because just like my brother has just said, yes, we don't have this, a structure that you have. Okay, for instance, we have the National Lottery Commission here. This is an organ, this is an agency, approved by the government that is in place that, of course, is supposed to fund sporting activities. But here, we actually have them in place here, but, nothing is forthcoming from the National Lottery Commission. But like in the case of South Africa, London, and of course, like Germany, they all depend on the lottery, funds from the lottery fund to actually fund the activities of the federation. But again, we are getting there gradually because late 90s, in fact, from the 80s down to maybe middle of the 90s, we've always had federations, selected, and then the people just come on board and they announce more or less like appointment, to man this federation. So these are people who really are not in the game. They don't have the love and flair for this game. So they really don't have any stake as such to say, okay, I have this passion and I must succeed and I must take this federation to the next level. But of course, like I said, in democratizing the process, we're also growing into funding, the pattern of funding of sports. And at the end of the day today, we have a democratized system. This is more, of what we call democratizing sports, because you're talking about the entire country coming together, converging in one place to say, this is my leader. Unlike what it was in the past, you select people and they come together. You have an electoral college of 11 people, selecting people to actually lead. So I love this process.
What's your stance on the issue of tenure?
The issue of tenure, I mean, it's basic. That you cannot change it. From the international best practice to what we have here, it's supposed to be 4 years. And once your 4 years tenure expires, it's either you organize your election in good time to ensure that you don't enter another person's tenure. I mean, there is nothing wrong with the tenure system. From the international level to the continental level and down to the national level, it's been 4 years.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's hear from Colonel Sam Amidu, who is a proprietor of Northern Warriors.
Thank you. Apart from being the proprietor of the Warriors, I am also the president of FIBA Africa Zone 3. I'm the most senior ranking Nigerian and international basketball board. So I'm going to speak from the international perspective as well. While we're doing that, I will also touch on what all the speakers here have said. First, this is the first time in the history of sports elections in Nigeria that we are having a level playing field. I have been involved in the administration of sports in Nigeria at this level since 1990, when I first came on board basketball. Up to 1990 to 1995, people were appointed. You will just be buried in your house. You will just hear that you have been appointed onto the board. Elections started in 1997, and they've been conducted by the Ministry of Sports. Why? The federations, like some of us here have said, they have constitutions. And so besides that, the ministry was conducting it because they were the neutral group. If you tell a federation to conduct an election where the president is a candidate, there is the likelihood there that he will do everything to favor himself. Let me just add, the international body recognizes that every country has its own peculiarities. FIBA, even in the Congress we had some few months back, this issue was raised. So what I'm saying is that the international body recognizes that it's the government that funds sports. So like my friend here said, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. Our federations are always shouting autonomy. Autonomy. What does autonomy mean? Autonomy does not come about just by the fact that you are shouting autonomy. There is a process for good autonomy, yes. Some of our people have said NFF. They fail to understand that the NFF is backed by the NFF Act, which was Decree 10, Decree 11 March to Decree 101, later NFA Act, now the NFF Act. That decree gave the NFF autonomy to administer itself. And that is why NFF drew up its own constitution in line with their international body, and that is why so you can say NFF is independent or autonomous for the basis of administration, but on the basis of finances, because the decree or no, the law kept one aspect, and says because football is a national asset. Yes. So the government that is funding it must have an interest.
All right.
So all these things need to be. The last thing I want to say, tenure. Every federation has its own tenure. Yes. And basketball, I can speak on that.
Okay. What's the tenure for basketball?
It's 8 years. It's 2 terms.
All right.
And I have. If you have time,
okay, we'll come to that certainly.
We say 8 years. You've been in sports since 1990, so that is how many years?
No, but I am not president.
Okay.
He says to be president.
All right, we'll come to that, but we have our very first caller tonight. Adam are calling in from Abuja. Hello, go ahead with your question or comment.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Syria. I hope you're hearing me very well.
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
Good evening, the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure seeing you on the screen this evening. My name is Adama Idris, the immediate past Director of Marketing and Sponsorship, Nigerian Football Federation. And Honorable Minister, what you are doing is very fantastic. It's long overdue, because I expected that if you have taken this approach when you took office as the Minister of Youth and Sports in the glass house, we wouldn't have had a lot of problems. But this approach is very fantastic, and we'll all do everything to support you. And I want to quickly let you know what we have gone through in the Nigerian Football Federation when there is crisis in that glass house. Each time there is crisis, we lose so many sponsors. Sponsors don't want to identify basically with grassroots development. They identify themselves with elite sports. Produced from the grassroots, give it to the sponsors, they'll take it to the stadium. That's what they do. But once there is political crisis in the football house, in sports generally in Nigeria, we don't move anywhere. And it is just about personal interest. But for what you are doing now, God will bless you. Amen. Honorable Minister, sir, please, before 2018, September 30th, is the election of Nigerian Football Federation. I will be very grateful if you could expedite action to ensure that the establishment of arbitration court be put in place before that election is held next year, so that we can be able to minimize and manage effectively the crises that may come up or erupted from that election.
All right. Adama, thank you very much for calling in. And, of course, the minister might want to respond to that last bit, the suggestion he has just made to you.
Well, I thank you very much, because you are speaking from the perspective of an insider, as somebody who has been in it. You see, he has also identified, just like so many speakers here have corroborated, the question of funding of sports. All over, sports is driven by the private sector. And the private sector is only attracted by the integrity of the sports sector. Where the integrity is in doubt, the investors are scared and will not bring their investment. Now, how do you attain the integrity of the sports sector? It's through transparent management of emergence of leadership. And if the leadership process is transparent, you are going to have responsible leadership. The responsible leadership will be trusted. So our appeal and calls on the private sector to now come and invest in sports will yield positive results. You see, the sport is very, very unique. And that is why the issue of adjudication and handling of disputes is usually referred to the court of arbitration. The reason is simple. If you allow the normal judicial process, a court can roll an order and stop an international match. And that is going to affect not only the particular event, but the entire country and the passions of Nigerians. And like Colonel Amadu indicated, Decree 101 referred to football as national asset, meaning that yes, you can have managers, the governance structure can be in the hands of individuals, but the core value, which is football, is still retained by government, because the security implication of allowing the national asset to be taken over is very, very heavy. These are some of the reasons. So I also intend to immediately after the elections address certain key issues like he raised. The issue of funding is on the front burner, but it will come up after election.
All right, so
the issue of the court of arbitration is also very, very critical in order to nip most of these litigations coming from elections, dispute in sports. But in the interim, the Nigerian Olympic Committee has been directed to constitute the court of Kedes to address immediate challenges of this election. And very soon they will inaugurate the arbitral panel to handle all issues related to this election, so that nobody goes to the regular court and then you have injunction flying from one window to the other, truncating the processes and scaring investors from coming to put in their investment in sports.
All right, let's look at this bit of holding the zonal national elections on the same day in Abuja. What led to that decision?
Well, the wisdom behind that is to appreciate the economic situation we're in, which is recession. Secondly, to also ensure that the various zonal elections are not subjected to any form of manipulation. Because this is a process we are starting. It is not established. If it were established, we would have established traditions, there would have been norms, there would have been values, there would have been rules. But we are starting. So we need to guide it jealously and monitor it jealously. Also, recession has also stepped into play.
All right. we'll look into this issue.
It will reduce the cost of the election.
All right.
Yes.
But let's go back to the phones. We have Kehinde calling in from Ibadan. Hello, Kehinde. Oh dear, we lost that call there. Well, okay, yes.
Honourable Minister, I'm at sea when you say NOC is supposed to conduct election. We should be careful because, take for instance, basketball. Basketball, your constitution is supposed to be rectified by FIBA. Yes. Fine. So if NOC conducts the election and there are disputes, does NOC work with IOC, FIBA, or what will be? Because people, stakeholders need to understand this for proper clarification. Yes. So if we say NOC has been directed to conduct such,
to constitute
the arbitration. Yes. Yes. Okay, but if there are disputes, I'm saying now, if there are disputes from the election now, and okay, so I'm a contestant, I'm contesting against him, and I'm not happy with the issues, and I raise it up. Will FIBA have a role to play? Will IOC or NOC, what will be the arrangement in settling such democratization process?
You know, election is a domestic issue.
Yes.
It's completely a domestic issue.
But you know, we are affiliated.
Yes. You see, what the international organization did is to ensure that the elections that are conducted are within the parameters of best international practices. The judicial system of handling election matters are also local.
Adjudicated, yes.
They should be local to handle the issues, because facts within a particular jurisdiction may not be comprehended properly when it's taken out of context.
Yes.
Assuming if you take an issue from this particular part of the world to the other side, our peculiarities, as asserted by earlier speakers, will not be appreciated. Just like he said, we conduct elections here with guidelines because we have been unable to produce constitutions. Right. We will definitely get to production of constitution after election, because it will become mandatory.
Exactly.
It will be mandatory for all the federations after the election to deposit their constitutions within a provided time.
Not only depositing, what if we... Okay, sorry.
Yes, well, let's quickly return to the phones, and we have Edward from Lagos. Hello, Edward.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I feel so happy with the development, the new development. It gives us, with the youth, the hope that we are being remembered at the national level. Because so many of us that would have represented the world, not only Nigeria alone, but because from the grassroots, everywhere is being polluted, is affecting the growth. So to every head that will be involved in making things success, I wish everybody good. the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sport, long life and prosperity. I wish everybody well and have a good time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Edward. Well, let's return to the issue of the guidelines for these upcoming elections. And where are these feelers coming from that these guidelines are not widely circulated? There have been talks about who are those who are eligible, who have been screened, who will participate in it, and there are still, dark clouds hanging over the whole process.
Well, I like to say this straight away, that the assertion that the guidelines are not well circulated, I think that is wrong in the first instance. It's not true. This guideline is everywhere, the social media, and of course that means every individual, every Nigerian can have access to this guideline in the first instance.
People tend to take the social media with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I think it's there to guide everyone.
Okay.
And secondly, this guideline was signed by both our NOC and the ministry after a lot of consultations. You remember the first one that came out even after the stakeholders conference? We objected to it. I addressed a press conference, and the Honorable Minister called us to a meeting with the President, at least the major representatives of them, and then some areas of the Constitution, or rather the guidelines, were amended. And we studied it. I studied, well, it's fine. If you look at these guidelines and you measure it against most of the constitutions, what's provided for, what is ordinarily supposed to be in the constitutions, are well provided for in these guidelines. There might be one or two areas where people are complaining, but of course, in a situation like this, when we are taken off, there has to be certain complaints. It cannot be 100%. And that's why we signed these guidelines, and we are following this issue of the guidelines, if that is what's obtained in the constitutions.
All right, let's go back to the phones. Another call from Lagos, Chidi, this time around, calling in from Lagos. Hello, Chidi.
Hello. Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, it's Julius. I'm speaking from Lagos.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
Customer, actually.
Okay, well, go ahead.
I'm very happy with what our minister is doing right now. I'm very, very happy. It's like saving us from the past meeting about us. I want to appeal for my sport, especially. My sport is kickboxing. I want the Honorable Minister to look into the case of kickboxing impact in the coming sports sector. So I know we can do it, but we have some issue and I know it can be rectified. And I thank you very much.
Oh dear. Well, I think
yes, talking about kickboxing.
Okay. All right. Since because it was a bit difficult to get together there, but did you get the last bit of what the caller was saying?
It was not too clear.
What she said was she wants the Honorable Minister to look into the crisis of kickboxing, especially returning them back to the National Sports Festival.
Right.
Because of course we had at the last National Sports Festival in Lagos, I think Port Harcourt and Lagos, some sports were like, okay, you need to get to that level before you can feature at the National Sports Festival. That's what she says.
So that's an issue for the minister to comment on. Fine, but okay. Yes, we'll keep that in mind and return to that, the issue of kickboxing. But yes, we were going to comment on this issue of screening and who is eligible. Yes.
Yes, the Honorable Minister would have done a lot of thought to getting the people that are eligible for these positions. But I think Nigerian sport is still evolving. We are not there yet where you can say someone after 8 years should let... You know why I say this? First of all, we know when it's sports, everybody... I ran to his office some weeks ago for funding for the Nipoga Games, and yes, there was no funds, and we understood, and we had to try to private sector. But if we say, like a federation, say rowing federation that is just starting, and I am supposed to be one of the people bringing my funds to see it grow, and it is in the stage of growth, and you now say just 8 years. A lot of federations do not even have constitutions, which we all agree. Even our Athletic Federation of Nigeria has not rectified with the international body. 80% of the federations have not rectified. But if there's a strategic plan, strategic implementation plan, and to say, okay, the Ministry of Sports will stop funding federations in the next 5 years. So from this year to this year, you have to rectify your constitution. From this year to this year, you have to set up a plan for funding. We will only give you little grants, which you will justify. But the Ministry of Sport will concentrate on grassroots development. Because corporate Nigeria, if I'm a board chairman and I'm sitting with my board members, I have to defend why I gave basketball 10 million naira. This because my brand visibility, my brand loyalty will be easy if I bring a Drogba or Lionel Messi and hang with my company name. Everybody want to affiliate with me. But why would they affiliate with FIBA when I just gave them 10 million? Let's look at the private sector side. So when you say 8 years, I think, Honorable Minister, I think we should reconsider. For now, as you just started the democratization process, because now it is the real democratization process which you have started, the change which you have said, which we are bringing to the table. Let it be a level playing field for now. And let us grow into the development, because we are not there yet. Even for FIFA, for other great federations, it is only now, after 100 years, with constitutions being rectified, congresses being held, meetings being held. So if we just start now by setting a block for some people, we still need the experience of some kind. Your experience, sorry, Colonel, 19 years or over. Yeah. You have never been in leadership for 8 years. No. But that does not mean that your experience should stop or you should not be given a chance to lead. So I just rest my case. I hope it is...
No, it's a very good point. While I'm not defending the minister, I mean, it's already told us that the guidelines, the tenure was extended from 2 terms to 3 terms. Yeah. So I feel it's a very good start. So we cannot just say stay there forever. So
but if I'm bringing value to the chain.
Yes. If you are bringing
value to the chain,
your federation can amend your own constitution.
Because if it's democracy and everybody says it's me they want.
Let me clear this. Okay. You see, this the constitution is for the purpose of democratization.
Yes.
Now, after these elections, federations are going to now convey their various congresses to adopt their constitutions. We're going to give them timeline. When they go to draw their constitution will be drawn based on their peculiarity. But for the purpose of this democratization, if we leave the space very wide, then the sincerity of the purpose becomes defeated. Yeah. It becomes defeated. Because those experiences we are talking about, we only argue that, look, even at the stakeholder summit, the argument was that for all the years some people have been in these federations, they never mentored young people.
No.
And they also block the chances of mentoring. So there is a complete leadership generation gap between the young and the old. And if you look at the gap, it's so wide that to breach is even not an easy one.
Honorable Minister, is there a reflection of Nigeria? Are we using sports?
So we have another caller on the line from Calabar this time. Basi, calling in from Calabar. Hello, Basi.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Minister.
Good evening. How are you, Basi?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Please, my question is a bit directed to the Secretary of NOC. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So my question is on the eligibility rules. One of the athletes, okay, let me put it this way, that the guidelines in qualification, what they said, what will allow an athlete to be eligible for athlete representative is on the age. On the age side, there has to be a minimum of 18 and maybe 30. And that is not quite definitive. You know, let's assume an athlete meets the four-year activity that they have to be active for the last 4 years, you know, and then every other criteria. But the age side is not clear. Those who are contesting for other positions are said minimum 30, maximum 8. But for the athlete rep, they said minimum 18 and maybe 30. Some federations have adopted the issue of saying, okay, we draw a mark. No athlete should be more than 30. Like athletics was trying to do something. But in other federations, they say maybe means it can be above 30. So please, Secretary NOC, sir, please, can you throw more light to this? Because it's bringing up a lot of issues in the federations. And I think some litigations of people are writing appeal or something like that, and it's not quite definitive. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you, Basi.
Yeah, let me just read to you what the line says. It says, except in the case of athletes, I don't want to start about the other one, which is clear, except in the case of athletes representatives who may be below 30, but not less than 18 years of age. What we are saying is, you should not be less than 18 years of age.
Not more than 30.
Yeah.
No, who may.
Who may?
Yes.
Who may be?
Yeah.
Who may be
Who
below
may
30.
be below 30?
Yeah.
Who may be. That means it is.
It can be above.
It can be above. It can be above. Persuasive. Why the athlete cannot be less than 18? It's in line with the constitutional provisions.
Yes.
Because if you are under 18, you are still a minor.
Minor.
So you cannot be respected to
decisions. Exactly.
So
but just a crazy thought.
All right.
Are we not putting the cart before the horse? If we say, when we win the elections, then we set up a constitution. If I understand that constitution say we, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, have agreed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right, and that's
so
the point, because
if we say, when I win and I now set up a constitution, the constitution must favor me.
No,
the constitution
cases.
must favor my whims and caprices, or I'll leave it the way it was. But if we say a little time is given to say, Honorable Minister now says, everybody, let's have a draft of your constitution and let's see how you want to make your constitution in line with the best international practice, so that every stakeholder, everybody on the table knows that this is how we have agreed to be a people, a federation that will lead Nigeria, represent Nigeria in basketball, in archery, in football, in handball, in tennis. Then we know this is the constitution, and based on the constitution, we are having an election. But if we have an election before the constitution, I just think that we might be putting...
I don't think that
is one of the directions we'll be going into. When we come back from this short break. We'll look into what is best for setting up, for getting these elections off the ground, and then thinking about the constitutions for the federations. We'll be looking into that in the next part of this program. But for now, let's take a short break. Stay with us on Tuesday Live.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. The issue tonight, the upcoming elections in the various sports federations in the country. Just before the break, an issue was raised about the suitability of having constitutions after the elections or before. And discussions behind the scenes have been on both sides. But let's start off with the minister here.
Well, having the constitution before election is just like adopting the Nigerian experience, where the military drew the constitution before elections. And so many years after, there have been so many problems with the constitution. Nigerians are asking for true federalism, revisiting certain provisions of the constitution. So guided by that, we decided to adopt the other side of it. Elect leaders popularly, and then let the leaders, through a also popular process, draw their constitution based on their peculiarities. The constitution of basketball may differ from that of archery. That of archery may also differ from that of boxing, based on their peculiarity, and then their international calendar and the technical component of the federations. All this varies. So this is the wisdom behind emphasizing the emergence of democratic leaders for them to run a democratic process, because they drew their powers from the people. So they will definitely take people along. But if you draw a constitution and give them, somebody who emerged as a leader can gather his family members and they will become a GM. Yes. They will become the Congress of the Federation, and they will adapt the constitution in his bedroom and he will superimpose it on the people. But if you are elected by 50 people, 37 of them came from the federating unit, there is no way you will go and then gather few, because you know when it is time to return to office, you are going to look for them and they will still use what you did to send you packing out of office.
All right, we took our cameras out to the streets, and we've been talking to Nigerians on the business of sports. Let's take a look at what some of their opinions are.
My last game was 2005. Actually, I would love it if government can make it compulsory for all these all these companies in Nigeria to sponsor, most especially the the communication company. I think what they prefer spending their money on now is on artists. So they don't actually they mean the sports. They don't spend much on sports.
What I want to see is a free and fair election, and an election where government interference is not hindering the administration of sports.
Sport in Nigeria, you see, sport like any other thing in Nigeria needs to be democratized. And when I say democracy, I mean relevant people that has a requisite people that have a requisite knowledge of a particular thing should be apportioned to such sector, like football or like sport. As we have today, we have had several ministers of sport who apparently know nothing about sport.
Sports federation or the handlers of our sporting events and all this in Nigeria, I can say that is bedeviled by corruption. Corruption is the bane of our problem with sports in the country. So, like I earlier told you, a situation where team selection is based on sentiments, based on who you know, and all that, people will even travel out to bring in coaches. They will negotiate with the coaches. What will be their kickback? What will be their take at the end of the day when the coaches come in? So all such things, I mean, they are all corruption. And that is the...
Management in Nigeria should be given independent control. Control in the sense that government by itself will not really actually manage and promote sport. Because of it is capital intensive, and it is also a professional initiative and experience.
All right, the opinions of Nigerians then. You can easily see that most of the talk was about running the federations properly, and of course the question of funding, and this has remained a big issue in Nigeria today. You're from the private sector, so let's start with you. Why is it that the private sector is shy of putting its money into sports?
Like I said, we've been on this for a long time, and I had a wonderful conversation with the Honorable Minister on phone, and we're supposed to meet to see how we could, because he's interested in getting funding from the private sector. Take for instance, I'm MD of like a fast-moving consumer goods, and I want my goods to be for the people to love my goods. Say TomTom that was supporting Super Eagles. They want to support the echelon Super Eagles, where everybody, the entire nation for 45 minutes is looking at TV. You see TomTom, you see Super Eagles on TV, and everybody, there's this connection between them. But if my manager is telling me to put my money in a federation where in the news there's corruption or there's them quarrel and all that, I will not want my brand to be associated with such. Two, I have to defend my profit and loss in my company to my board. So everybody, like they were talking on the respondents on the street, communication companies and all this, they pay taxes, and they believe the government is supposed to be responsible. Yes, there's a corporate social responsibility arm of every corporate organization to help, because we make money out of the people. But we must get our house in order. If I know that this federation is getting money out of the Ministry of Sports and it's coming to me for the same purpose, that is corruption. I would not put my money there. But see, Engineer Sani Danusa, Ifweku Omoigui, the FRS, they came together in the LFN that says if you spend 10% of your deductible tax income for sporting activities, you enjoy tax rebate and tax holidays. And this is what I want to graciously plead with the Honorable Minister and all federations and all stakeholders. We need to revisit it. We need to find a way to say, okay, there's recession now. Everybody says recession, recession. Okay, there's recession, but from your taxes. Give us 10% of your taxes. Let us put it in grassroots development and let it be for grassroots, because grassroots is where we find our future stars. Grassroots is where those stars that we are leading, next generation next. So still, back to your question, corporate Nigeria is shy because 80% of them do not understand the enabling laws that gives them comfort for funding. 2, our federations should begin to stop looking at the minister and everything government. There are too many things government is putting his money into, health, security and all that. So for them to now put how many sports activities can the Ministry of Sports from its budget fund? But if this federation knows that, let us set up in our constitution, there's a strategic roadmap, strategic implementation plan. See, like the NFF, with Amaju Pinnick, they're trying to get funding from other people for their coaches and all that. They're proactive. So other federations can learn to begin to say, in our constitution and in our roadmap, and the ministry should, like an eagle, will push the little kids out of the nest to learn to fly. So the ministry to say in the next 3 years, we will stop funding, because you cannot just stop now. So that there's a roadmap, a strategic plan, but everybody is knowing that
for disengagement.
But we are disengaging from federations and we are concentrating on grassroots.
All right, from Jos is a call. TZ calling in from Jos. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Frank, good evening, sir. Yeah, I'm having an issue, sir. I want to make an observation on this issue. You see, we Nigerians, hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is that we like this kind of platform so that we can hear our views, okay? But the issue is that I suggest that this kind of thing should be done earlier than now, okay? Let's say around immediately after network news so that everybody can hear it, you know? By now, everybody might have slept. And, you know, you can see my name, TJ is my name, and I know Honorable Minister very well. And I'm from Minchika local government of Adamawa State, by the site in Jos, to be precise. So please, I'm advising that I want us to do, I don't know if you can do it in such a way that everybody can now listen to you, because by now everybody might have slept. I've been trying all through, but I cannot get you through, you know. So that's my advice. And having said I'm not a football fan, but the fulcrum of the whole thing is that if there is, the football helps a lot in developing the nation with regard to security or whatever it is. So in that aspect, I give kudos to the Honorable Minister so that he cannot develop more policy to ensure that football brings a lot of security to our country. That's my own take on that. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I would say this at this point. One, the democratization of the sector, particularly the federations, is it's a welcome development, because if you look at the guideline properly, you see the various constituencies. You have the zonal representatives. You also have the major stakeholders like international board membership representative, the athletes, the technical, the physical and health education practitioners. Yes, of course, very, very germane is the representative of every sports federation sponsors. So if you have identified, for instance, like my brother just said, maybe TomTom brand that sponsors your federation, maybe international participation in maybe sporting events, or they are going for the grassroots. Yes, it doesn't matter whether the government gives every federation money to develop the sports at the grassroots level. Yes, sponsors of course should also have a program to do at the grassroots level, because the athletes you want to take out maybe in the next 4 years will have to start from somewhere. So deliberately you start funding the development of this athlete from the grassroots. So the sponsorship of course comes both from the government and the private sector in this case. Now talking about the rules and of course the constitution according to the international federation, there are basic issues that you cannot touch in the provisions, if you work according to the international best practice. For instance, the technical rules and regulation of every sport, you cannot do anything about that. That is the way and manner the sports is conducted. One, the rules of the sports, you must throw the ball. If you have to do throw, it must be outside the pitch. Right. If you have to take penalty, it goes. Those are technical rules. Now, when you now come to the status of the federation, this is where you domesticate some of these rules. Of course, even at that too, you also have a standard that you cannot touch, like the structure. You must have a structure. Every federation must have a structure. It is not a bedroom affair. It's not a family affair, and all that. So these are basic things that we
just before you go, we have, well, incidentally, a namesake of yours, another Tunde, this time calling in from Ibadan. Hello, Tunde.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
I just want to contribute to what you people are talking all about, sir. The sports that I know, because I understand sport very, very well. The sport is a way of developing a country if we do it in a politely manner. Because in the sense that if we sport itself can employ about 20 million people in a country, there are so many ways people can come together in order to make a country to become a standard one, which the parties in the government now are doing. For instance, if they can be able to do this thing, let there be good interaction between all those conglomerates, all those companies in the country, like Glow, Etisalat, all these quarries, CC, all those $10, all those people, that if they can have a club, they can just try to privatize everything so that people will be able to contribute their own quota. We can make this like stadium now. If you want to privatize people building stadium, the out of you give the federal government some shares, like some percentage of out of the income. There will be the best thing for us. At least if we can try to do all those things, in the next 20 years, Nigeria also will be competing with the Champions League, the UEFA, and so on and so forth. But the only thing that we need now is for us to plan.
All right. Thank you so much, Tunde. The end of your contribution there, it would seem that your TV sound came up and we were hearing the echo. But thanks for your contribution. And yes, right.
Yeah. First, talking about sports, I think part of the problem with our sport is we don't actually know what to do with sports. Sports is actually a multi-billion-dollar industry. What in Nigeria we see sports from the perspective of going to win at the Olympics.
True, absolutely.
That is a miss. Normal. With sports, we can employ the youth of this country. Because I was a member of the sports reform committee, and we have identified ways which was set up by the honorable ministers, and our report is very, very clear. The honorable minister himself has indicated that the ministry is going to look into that report very well, though we are still waiting to see when it will be done. I mean, there are really clearly ways. NBA, basketball now, in the US, the sports are seasonal. They finish basketball, they move to the other sports. When I say all the sports will be going on, but the playoffs, that is the championship games, you finish one. It's the same crowd that is moving from one game to another to another. The corporate firms don't care if you win at the Olympics or not. But in Nigeria, our Nigerian press will say, 2 days to the end of the games, Nigeria has not won, and put unnecessary pressure. I remember last Olympic Games, the game minister was praying for one bronze to the end of the Olympic Games. And so we eventually got that.
Okay.
We should concentrate on what sports can really do.
Right, but we'll still need those medals anyway. But let's go back to the phones and take this call from Ilorin. Shegun is calling in from Ilorin. Hello, Shegun.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, the panelists. My contribution to the program is this. It's good to democratize. It's to allow for integrity, equity, and justice. But as a developing country, we don't have the people with experience that can manage all these sports institutions. I mean, top associations across the country. So, when our experts come back home to assist, there should be a program or a system whereby they will be allowed to take over the mantle of leadership to showcase the experience. One, to get international companies that can support this country and the sports development. One example in case is that of John Fashanu. He tried all he could to make sure that he gets appointed as the FA chairman. We know his pedigree. He can turn football around in this country and make it a multi-million-dollar, and not naira. But he was jettisoned. He was abandoned. He's still around in the country. He loves this country. He has come back to stay. So, what we have to do in democratization, we should be able to make sure that people with experience, expertise, connections, international connections, are allowed to lead us. If you have to wait until we get, look at the years back, the national team has lost out in Nations Cup for more than 2 or 3 times now. It's a disgrace to this country with the abundance of talent. We know what John Fashanu did in he brought the national team from Wales to second place. Eh? So he's somebody that can perform exceedingly well. After all, we went for people like Professor Soludo and the former Minister of Sport to assist in the economy from outside. Why can't we endeavor to do this kind of thing? If we do it, it will help sport development in this country. That's my case. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Shegun, for calling in. Yes.
I just want to say something.
Yes.
When we always emphasize on medals, result, because with no disrespect to the federations, I go to the Honorable Minister and I say, we are going for this tournament. The Honorable Minister raises a memo and gives me money for the tournament. So income must equal expenditure. Right. I must justify the funds. But if I'm into developmental structure, then there's no pressure on me to say, Honorable Minister, see the cup, let's take picture. But see, and government does not do business. We all agree on this panel that sports is big business.
It is.
Those that are in the business of sports, we should encourage them to come and join federations to do the business. Like basketball, you people are doing very well. I heard you had a big sponsorship of a multi-million-dollar DSTV or so coming into basketball. It was beautiful to see Nigerian basketballers play against. We should commend people like this that own a basketball team. It's not easy. Sponsors should affiliate with you. You know, so until we start doing the business of it and encouraging those business people to organize tournaments, see like the Super Eagles, government, football is our asset. We spend maybe 1 billion on Super Eagles and 50 million naira on grassroots. We have reversed the chain.
Yes, sure.
We should spend 1 billion on grassroots and let those that love Super Eagles, that is our pride.
Hey, but another issue that was raised by the respondents we had there on the street was that to do with corruption, which I think got it mentioned here as well. So if you're looking into attracting the private sector, what are the things you're going to put in place to ensure that the whole system is transparent?
Well, we must admit that corruption has played a major role in our drawback in terms of sports development. And the corrupt practices in sports are so divergent that you have to pick them at levels. Athletes are entitled to allowances and bonuses. Oftentimes, after tournaments, these allowances do not get to them as approved by the ministry. That is a challenge. It kills the spirit of nationalism in athletes. So when you invite them next, they will not come. Another level of corruption is you have national federations collecting grants from international federations and not even mentioning it to the hearing of either the board or the ministry. That again is another level of corruption. You have funds meant for sporting activities being diverted to something else and unaccounted for. You have major sponsors. Let me tell you, we have not been too fair to Nigerian, the corporate Nigeria. When I embarked on visit to some sponsors to begin to ask them questions, why are you not interested in sports? And I went there accusing them of not investing in sports. But I left their houses embarrassed and disappointed. And in each of the places I go, I leave with apologizing. I went to an individual and he told me, he said, look, Minister, I used to be one of the greatest sponsors of a particular sport in Nigeria. I used to give them $350,000 if they are going for a competition. He said, but at the end of the day, there was nothing. I was not investing to get anything back, but I was investing because of my patriotic interest in this country and youth development, because I believe that if we do not provide accommodation and space for our young people and engage them, then we are also preparing for trouble. These funds are unaccounted for. There are even people out of goodwill that will move from their houses and say, so federation, take this amount of money, this is my contribution. You don't hear about this. This thing exists in sports. And so, collectively, it has destroyed confidence in the sports sector. So everybody is seen to be the same. Even honest people now are battling with this toga.
So you need to clean up the image. But let's go back to Ibadan. We had quite a number of calls from Ibadan. This one is from Lambert. Lambert, turn down the volume of your TV. I just heard the hurl back.
I've just done that. Good evening.
Good evening.
And good evening, the Honorable Minister.
Lambert, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm quite elated. I mean, when you mentioned that there was a gap between the youth and I call it adult and the management of sports, which is something that the the federation actually need to look at, because you know, it pains me when I see some of our bright athletes and sportsmen and women to go through this rigor of practice and then representing the nation. At the end of the day, we don't bring them into management of sports, and some people give this reason that being an athlete does not automatically translate into being a leader. I beg to disagree, because these people have gone through stages in their sporting life. So they also need to be, there should be a conducive environment to bring them into the management of sports. And our grassroots sports today, you see, if you look at what is happening to our youth, it's like our youth have gradually abandoned the sporting, system in Nigeria. You see them fans of many clubs outside the country. It pains me when I see it. We have many clubs within our local environment, whether in sports and other things. They don't like watching those, and that shows that there is a systemic fault in sports management in the nation. So this we need to look at. You see, common sense, for example, where we have our stadia. Now, I am happy that the government is beginning to build railways. Let's make sure that these railways are strategic enough to be located areas where people can drop their cars in their homes, take the trains, go to the stadium, watch football, and come home, watch sports and come home without going with their vehicle. These are ways we can encourage in terms of management. Like the other person was talking about strategic planning. How to encourage the people to leave their homes and go to stadia to watch matches. You watch your television, you see what happens in Europe and other places. The stadia are full, but the road network is very important if we want to build a sustainable sporting industry in the country. And this also will bring in sponsorship. Look at our stadia sometimes. We don't have good lighting systems. So some of the matches are not played in the evening hours. People will be at work. They come back in the evening. They want to go out and relax. But at that point, stadia that could have been of use to them. There is no light to watch football in the evening hours. So some of these things should be looked at so that our sports will grow. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Lambert. Well, good there. Well, issues he raised up, general issues pertaining to the administration of sports. But let's come back to these upcoming elections. And of course, recall that the minister was at the House of Representatives. And what was the outcome of the exchange?
Well, while I was on a medical vacation, there were motions and counter motions against the election. There was a first motion which directed the ministry to suspend the issue of the election and recall the dissolved leadership. On the 25th of May, there was another counter motion which said, well, facts had now emerged that the decision we took earlier cannot stand. The legislature is a democratic institution, so it should go with democracy. The minister should go ahead with the elections, while other issues therein should be investigated. Then yesterday we were there again, but this time on a different issue, though related to the issue of dissolution, but it was not put properly because the House said, well, Minister, there are petitions against the dissolution and I am expected to react. I told them, well, I haven't seen the copy of the complaint made against me, and so it will be difficult for me to respond to an allegation that I have not seen the content of it, neither do I know who are those petitioning. And so the House now said, okay, if you have not received the petitions, what we will now do is to set up a committee to try to look into the issue. So the election is going on as scheduled. By 11th, there is going to be verification, because the elections have taken place at different levels of the professional organization. The ADLEX election has taken place. And so by 13th, NOC and the electoral committees will now have to verify it. In verification, they are now going to be guided by the guidelines. Those who are elected, if there is any of them that has doping issue, it's a very serious thing in sports. He cannot be a leader. He's already been disqualified by the doping issue because the NOC has, you know, the NOC is just like a whistleblower, but not like the one the vice president said somebody has written a professional, a book on professional listening. So they are a whistleblowing group now. Because when we come for verification, they will say Mr. ABC internationally has been inducted for doping. And if he's elected, there will be a vacancy. After the verification, they will also ascertain the delegates that will vote in the election because anybody who is going to vote, we must know him. Nobody will just come back and say, oh, I am a SA chairman represented by Elsa State. No, you must come with a document indicating that you are from Bielsa. And there must be something to corroborate that the person named in the letter is the one we are dealing with, so that somebody do not go to some market and organize an electoral college to come and elect a president of federation for us. So it's a very serious business for us starting from next week.
Right. As we begin to, well, yes, you were going to comment on that, right?
Yeah, actually, it's the democratic process that we're just about witnessing. Maybe in the next 7 days from now.
Okay.
Yeah, many people have said yes, it's about the best thing that can happen to the sector. Yes, of course. Now that we have various delegates coming from different states, the issue of identity became, you know, very, very germane. The issue there is it would have been much easier for me as a major stakeholder in a federation to know who my members are across the country. Because if you are a qualified delegate to vote, you must be interfacing with the federation from time to time. 1, you attend their seminars. 2, you attend our competition. 3, you attend our board meetings and congresses. That's 1. 2, for you to be able to come and vote or attend electoral congress, you must have been a paid-up member, financially paid-up member, as in your affiliation fees and any other fees you need to pay. So we are developing. And this process, of course, is a welcome development because it's taking us to the next level. Next time, I need not have a letter from the director of sports or the governors of a state to say, this is my delegate. I will be the one to say, we know this man, you have your affiliation fees, you must have been given an acknowledgement or a receipt, and we know so-so state is affiliated. And that's what gives you the right to vote. And of course, you will not just jump in from anywhere. In fact, we will get to a level where we may not necessarily have 36 plus 1, that is plus Abuja, at the Congress. If you are not an affiliate member of that sport, you don't just jump from anywhere and jump into the pitch that you want to vote. It's not possible. But that, like the Honorable Minister has said, and of course the process in place now, is a welcome development because it's taking us to the next level, at the federation level.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, as we begin to wind down, let's begin with the Secretary General of the Olympic Committee, who's here with us.
I think I just like to talk about the issue of structures, the issue of the constitutions, and of course what they are taking up on the issue of membership. If ordinarily the federations have their constitutions in place, there are basic principles, 7 of them in the charter, which guides every constitution. And one of them, as just mentioned, is on the membership structure. If you've not been part of us from time, if you just come in, like me, I play hockey. If I decide to go to basketball, yes, they will know me as a hockey player, but I cannot have any influence in whatever they want to do in there. Of course, we will know ourselves. You must have met us in one competition, maybe the Congress and AGM and so on, within the period of 4 years. So automatically, if you don't even have your ID as at that moment in time, you should be able to, that is within. But as we are starting now, there will be some little issues as to that. And I need to say this one very clearly. There have been issues on those who are saying they are international members. The issue here is, if you are an international member, you must get a letter from your international federation, at least for this election. That's what we're able to define it. We have a list, but you must bring a letter confirming that. So that is just one. And then the basic principles, which we're trying to do for about 2.5 years now, 2.5 years or more, we have given them, this guideline, which is in tandem with the international governance and ethical principles. It's all available through the federations, but because we are able to comply, that's why we're having this middle-of-the-road approach, which is very, very good.
Now, just before we let you go, let's go to the Olympics. Yeah. And we're interested in that, and regardless of what has been raised here about not looking out for the medals, we still need those medals. And
exactly.
And then the question is, how prepared are we for the...
You see, if one has to say, oh, we are prepared, I cannot say we are prepared, right. We're not prepared. This is the first thing that we're doing now is what the Honorable Minister has initiated, and that is the issue of governance. Governance. If that one is in place, then we can now start to talk about other matters arising. Funding is another aspect, which is the second one. And then, of course, the federations themselves, they are the kitchen. That's the truth. And they need to have a proper structure guiding,
So the worry here is if at this stage in time we still have governance issues, when are we going to resolve that, begin to put together people who will go and represent us out there, and who will bring... Well, this time the minister would want more medals, right?
Yes.
We'll start from somewhere. Definitely, what is happening now is that it's not as if everyone is going to sleep. You can see people are going for competitions and at such a level. But I'm sure immediately after this election, maybe next week, things will speed up the way it is. So,
well, my challenge in this is a Usain Bolt will defeat Nigeria. We know Usain Bolt, he has, and how can we say we do not have up to 10 good tartan tracks in this country.
These are just one of those
foundational issues. And see, like my biggest another challenge is, see, the National Institute of Sports, minister needs to give some attention to it. You know why? If I want to be a doctor, the Honorable Minister is a lawyer. He went to a university to study law. If I want to be a footballer, where do I go to?
All right.
And I think one fundamental area we need to actually concentrate on at this point in time is the community sports development centers. We've had this project, I think, in the last 8 years back. The ministry actually came up with this, and it was approved by the federal government, and the budget was actually made for them by the National Assembly and duly passed, and of course contracts were awarded, and that project actually kicked off. I want to tell you today that, one, none of them actually got to 70% level of completion. Some of them are still at like 20%. Some people just mobilized to site and they cannot go on. Some people got to 50%. I think the highest we had, the report then was about 70%. We should go back to that level because that is the bedrock of development of sports as far as the industry is concerned. If we are waiting for that time, Olympics is around the corner and we start preparing, where are the talents? And that's why today we are flat-footed.
Another thing is, if you set up a community center without knowledge, we need, because the kinetics of Usain Bolt, the way he runs, we do not have anybody in Nigeria that runs sub 10 seconds out of 180 million people.
Right. One other aspect that we have relegated is the school sports. Right. And that is really a hindrance.
So it's grassroots.
They develop in countries. 90% of the athletes are in schools, in the collegiate system.
Yes.
I always like to use the US because their own example is very, very clear for all to see. They have developed their own collegiate system to the extent that the sports even raises funds for the school. That's where they even get grants to give to students or scholarships. So, but here everybody is waiting, and we are starting our own sports very, very late. What's like the gentleman here has now said.
All right, so Minister will come to you for that, because even as you set the process, set the motion in process, democratizing the space in sports development, the government still has an important role to play, particularly when it comes to the question of Olympics. And we all know the challenges of Nigeria's participation in past Olympics. Where are we now?
We have been insincere with funding of sports in Nigeria. Because sports, we in the sports ministry, we are a service-oriented ministry. We're not revenue generating. And the insincerity is that we do not commit budgetary allocation to sports. I take 2017 as a case study. We have only 7.7 billion allocated to sports. Football alone needs 6.8 billion for pre-qualification of World Cup and World Cup participation. So, where do we get funds for the other sports? In 2016, I had to look outside the box to raise funds for the National Youth Games. I've not even finished paying the monies I collected. Because I was determined to make sure that we create a platform for these young people. I shed tears in Ilorin when I saw, the zeal with which the young people were exhibiting. And I asked myself, look at how we have denied our children so many years of this opportunity. I couldn't know when tears run down my eyes. So we are not sincere with funding of sports, even as government. Because if we are sincere, in what country of the world where you have a population of 170 million people and the budget is 7 billion for sports in a year?
In dollars, that's less than Manchester United budget.
So you see, government will have to commit resources to sports development. If we want to even hand over sports like I'm trying to do, to hand over sports to the private sector, there are basic things government must do.
Exactly.
The infrastructures we have on the ground must be updated before the private sector can come in.
Yeah,
because it is going to be a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
The governance structure in Nigeria is 3-tier. You have the NOC, you have the ministry, you have the federation. This does not exist anywhere in the world. It is 2-tier governance. NOC, then the government. The NOC is responsible for the technical and professional content of sports. Some of the disciplinary questions, the sustenance of even ethics is the NOC. The NOC as today is just like a spectator in his own affair, because it is handicapped, it doesn't have funds, it also look up to government for funding, and their budget is so meager that they cannot effectively run. I intend that after the elections, we must go back to the 2-tier governance structure, and the NOC will have to be strengthened. They will have to create commissions. People with experiences must be engaged at that level. And those experienced people are the ones who will market sports in Nigeria, because they have names, they are trusted, and so investors can trust them. So I think that's much we are going to do.
Right.
Funding is the key.
But with all of this in mind and seeing the time that you have, can we say that there is any form of hope for a brighter Olympics?
In 2020, Nigeria is going to spring a surprise at the Olympics.
Right.
I give you an example with football. The way our football has grown, our ranking from 78 to this, we are 38 or so at the last ranking. And after our few matches, we might come to either 10, 11. That is great improvement. And that is also happening. Our wrestling team had just returned with so many medals in the competition they went for. So much is going on behind the scene.
All right.
And so, but all we need to do now is funding. Preparation for Olympics is done in the first year and second year. The third year is just mopping up, and the fourth year is camping and going for competition.
All right, so we'll keep an eye out for all these preparations. And
let me just draw our attention to one aspect of our sports that is making me very, very glad. We are having younger players play on our national teams now.
Okay, fine.
If it were in the past, people like Iwobi, Harry Royekuru, they will be struggling to play in the under 17 now. But now, at a very young age now, they are playing at senior level.
You can really tell that those ages they are giving at the correct ones.
Yes.
Okay, but at this point, we'll have to leave this conversation and thank our guests to have come around to share their thoughts with us. Let's say thank you very much to Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Solomon Dalung. Thank you, Minister, for being here.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let me also say thank you to Colonel Sam Amedu, who is the proprietor of Dodon Warriors Basketball Club, Lagos. Thank you so much for coming. And Mohammed Abdullahi, President, Archery Federation of Nigeria. Thanks for being here. It's been a long while we haven't seen you on this platform. Good to see you again.
I appreciate it.
And let me also say thank you very much to Babatunde Omije, President, Rudder Sports Management. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Pleasure is mine.
Right. And to Tunde Pukola, Secretary General, Nigeria Olympic Committee, all eyes are on you.
Thank you very much.
But thank you for coming.
So much. Thank you so much. Yes.
And we say thank you to you two for being part of this program. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.
Music of my childhood was completely British and American.
So my signature tune is pretty much
Robbers, they rob, they no see you, brother.
And like you said, I'm robbers, rob, they no see you. They don't see me, my brother. It happened to me.
Many, many months and many years don't come and go.
Papa God, we say thank you.
the music is the way that the whole world can connect.
Sometimes music goes with comedy. I love music.
Let the love for music keep burning in you.
Music and art, a must watch.
Gas pipelines are the arteries for powering electricity. When the artery is burst, then the entire system collapses. Vandalizing gas pipelines is a criminal offense against the Nigerian people. Let us join hands and protect our gas pipelines from the enemies of Nigeria. Report any suspected vandal to the security operatives. Let us stop vandals before they destroy our collective national heritage, so we can have the Nigeria of our dreams, where there will be light at all times. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Stress is a normal physical response to an event that makes your nervous system feel threatened at the perception of danger, whether real or imagined, giving your body automatic mobilization process known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. This automobilization response, or stress, is designed to protect your body. When it is working well, it helps you stay focused, energetic, and alert. In an emergency, it spurs you into action to defend yourself. Stress, however, becomes worrisome when it is overwhelming. It can damage your health, your mood, your productivity, relationship, and even your quality of life. Stress is chiefly induced by environmental conditions or stimulus and emotional instability. Work-related stress is the second most commonly reported condition in the self-reported work-related illness. According to research results between 2011 and 2012, an estimated 428,000 workers suffered from work stress. Stress affects different people in different ways, but generally, the chemicals that are released by the body as a result of stress can build up over time and cause various mental and physical symptoms. These include irritability, anger, depression, anxiety, food cravings, lack of appetite, headaches, sleep difficulty, and the list is endless. How one handles one's stress depends on the causes and the symptoms, but it is imperative to note that once the pressure or threat has passed, your stress hormone level will usually return to normal.
NTA, you can't beat the reach.
God, I beg you. Hey, but come to think of it, it's already 3 p.m. And Oga is supposed to go and chat with them between 3 and 4 p.m. Hey, let Oga come. What in they delay Oga today, eh? This guy better don't come our way. Oga no won't come office, eh? Hey! Now, wow. Hey!
Clara?
Okay, thank God you are here.
You are so happy.
Okay,
What is he?